Hello, I hope all is progressing well. Welcome to I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It. My name is Kevin Zifre. We're going to enter the conversations immediately. The first topic concerns pronoun usage. I'm not going to dive into the extremely political side of the conversation. I'm literally honing in on the name usage, more so than pronoun usage. I try to understand when a person might have to use a pronoun for anyone, and I think to my experiences working with individuals as an instructor, as a camp counselor, from guides, from even being someone that is an instructee and an individual with someone to adhere to, that's older, that is in a position of varying responsibilities. I consider the relationship and acknowledge that name usage always takes priority, which is key. Acknowledging an individual by name is standard. So, the reasoning behind pronouns in a non-political sense, I can understand aligns with identity. Though in terms of a humanizing sense, in terms of an everyday respect to who an individual is choosing to be, or who an individual wants someone else to acknowledge the individual's presence as, I feel as though the normal standard route of acknowledgement is by name usage. Additionally, I've come across individuals that literally give me different names to call them. Not for a gender specific reasoning, because of an experiential reasoning. I think of one individual in childhood, everyone calls the individual one name that the individual likes. It's the individual's name from birth. I meet the individual 20 plus years later, and this individual adopts a name from experience through a career which others grow to call the individual. So when communicating 20 plus years later, the individual tells me to call by the name the individual earns, appreciates, chooses through the career experiential pathway. So, I feel as the most sensible common ground is by name, especially because certain individuals choose a name because the name is what the individual chooses to identify as, period. Whether a person has a personal conflict concerning pronouns, I still am trying to understand how the conversation even comes up because of my understanding from professional and non-professional relations and communications that names are the point of acknowledgement. To earn a nickname, an individual has to be in a particular relationship to earn a nickname. Now, I can understand if the conversation of pronouns shows up in an alternate conversation in which people are discussing another individual. Even in that regard, I still hold the usage of one's choice name as the acknowledgement point. So I think that is a huge separation from a political sense, which brings individuals toward a level grounding of familiarity, of which I'm personally familiar with, though I have an understanding that many entities at large are familiar with. Which makes me feel as though prevention is already, though not all parameters of prevention may be translating to current conversations of pronoun usage and name usage. So calling one by one's name, I think, is the point of acknowledgement that especially educators, individuals in any entity working in capacity with relations, communications, externally, internally, with varying parties, name usage is key. When the conversation comes in terms of documentation, what a person might be reviewing, then I think simply acknowledging by reading and acknowledging so that way is enough. Because in a sense, that is very personal. That being anything pertaining to gender identity for an individual. So if a person is writing on a document that another person has to review in any capacity, even if it's an internal document that will be going externally, anyone reading it can have whatever belief personally, though must acknowledge the usage and the individuals using the terminology in the capacity that is only relevant to the individual, especially if it's only relevant to the individual. Then proceed with operations normally, moving forward as normally. Because if a person is reviewing a document and says, oh, this pronoun usage, well, this is inaccurate. I don't want to call this person this pronoun. I need to change it. Is it necessary? Do I really know for sure? I don't want to say yes. I don't know. Hence the reason why we're talking about it. Because a lot of documents might come to the table. Though in my experience concerning documents, when a person has to self-identify through a document, if a person really adds pronouns at the end, usually the situation will not be dire. Though, if one does know a situation in which it does become dire, please let me know. Reasoning is because, for example, in a medical situation, if a person misidentifies on a document, if the documentation necessary for medical procedures or a medical procedure is/are not in accordance with how the individual is identifying through documentations, problems may arise. Hence, the reason for obviously updating one's medical records in regard to one's biological developments, as well as introductions to / consumption of medical forms of consumption that can affect one's biology, that can show in a blood test or a urine test, etc. So there are instances in which identifying can be very important through documentation. If any others arise, please let me know. Otherwise, acknowledge names primarily, first and foremost. I have a friend or so that upon first meeting, the individual says, call me this, I say that's that. It's a common courtesy, I think. I don't know why name usage is not at the forefront before pronoun usage. Because the common courtesy to ask, how do I pronounce your name? What do you prefer me to call you? Especially if a person is hearing different names or a nickname that's moving around in a certain area. What do you prefer me to call you is huge. I am familiar with people introducing a person to me with a nickname. Then I discover the person's real name. I ask the person about the name preference. Personally, the person tells me to use the actual name, not the nickname. Common courtesies, though perhaps not common sense. All right, we're going to move on to the next topic, which concerns, well, AI usage in classrooms. How can AI tools benefit individuals in classrooms? Though, when I say in classrooms, we're talking about tutors and tutees, because eventually the lessons will translate to the classroom as well as to real life. Well, everything that's happening in life is real life to a fair degree. We're not going to dive into semantics right now. Personally, I'm not going to dive into semantics right now concerning this point. Though we are going to move on. I am going to move on to continue sharing why I think AI, artificial intelligence, as an active live presence is beneficial to the world we're living in because of a flexible capacity which AI is receiving. I like to consider AI as of the 12th of June as alternate intelligence because of the conversation. A tutor, a teacher, anyone that has intelligence can be of use for a person or entity that has a use for a particular intelligence that the educator, tutor, person with intelligence has. Understanding alternate intelligence makes more sense to me when I think of alternate intelligence as such. I have older siblings. I need help with a math problem. These older siblings are done through school, familiar with different levels of math. I ask for help for math from and available intelligence. So, I find the available intelligence if the available intelligence is available. If not, I have to go to another source. What do I learn from the available intelligence is not likely to be simply the answer. I'm looking for the route to the answer. Personally, some individuals might look for the answer, that's it. And I think when discussing AI tools, we're really coming to a conversation of learning. Alternate intelligence tools, artificial intelligence tools. Artificial intelligence, meaning an intelligence that is artificial, though comes from an alternate intelligence. Humans create artificial intelligence, go figure. So with alternate intelligence, the way I like to think of it, especially in education, we're looking at a new, I don't really want to say a new route. We're looking at a route that is receiving a new shine. I always like to bring up Jumpstart video games. These are forms of artificial intelligence, alternate intelligence. The one has to go to the lesson, and each is in its own parameter. Similarly to a search engine with AI searching, it's just not a video game. So everything's working in a database and it's pulling information, not all of it as deep, though that's the whole idea. It's like sandbox searching. Why do I like Jumpstart is because we're looking at a very similar happening, except through learning parameters in a video game. Now, a Jumpstart in 2023 might be really cool because we might be able to add some indexing features, right? A lot of what people are recognizing and searching, like AI searching, is really like a human advanced indexing. We're looking at live searches through appendices. That's reality. Though we're growing in a world where a lot of people might not know what an appendix is. An appendix is, not appendices. An index is a glossary. So relying on alternate intelligence to navigate these types of information within the databases that are available may assist human efficiency, though at the same time are not to disregard human efficiency. So tutors are a form of alternate intelligence that, as the article talks about, come with, go figure, emotional intelligence. This is what we're dealing with. Just like in Jumpstart, when a person may not understand what's going on in the video game, an entertaining form of artificial intelligence or alternate intelligence, then the person has to go to alternate intelligence, a human being, likely if not internet or YouTube, to connect with someone else. Another alternate intelligence with the know-how, the intelligence to show how to proceed with a particular question. The alternate intelligence will always be relevant, and human efficiency will always be necessary, as will emotional intelligence. Though, concerning tutor to 2D and beyond, especially in learning parameters, I think it's really important to acknowledge why one is learning, what one is learning, and how may one implement what one is learning in life, day to day, or what strategies are effective in the processes of learning that a person can garner for later use in life. At least to succeed in school or wherever else the person might be going with this information. Who knows how relevant an individual might make certain types of information. So I feel like undermining AI, overmining AI is really blowing up now. Especially because we're looking at new buffers on old vehicles, and people are literally just taking like a core of what already is done, just putting it into another avenue. I'm never gonna think AI is gonna replace, when I'm saying AI now, artificial intelligence is never gonna replace a human being. And we're not going through the technological industrialization age of like human relations to AI technology. We're always going to be using alternate intelligence. We're always going to be relying on each other, human beings. Though humanity will be doing interesting things. And I think AI will be set in a way to do interesting things, though always in a parameter, always in a database. More on that later in this episode. What we're gonna do now is we are going to, where'd I go? You probably see me. We're gonna do some origami. Okay, so today we're going to be making a fly, an origami fly. So this is a 2-side square origami paper. I'm folding the polka dot side. Okay. Next portion is to just fold up. So I'm gonna make a diamond, folding the corner up from this triangle right here. Okay. Now, after that fold up, you can see that fold right there. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. All right. Okay. Oh. Boom, we have a diamond. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold down at the sides, just folding it down so that it's gonna basically have a straight side here. So you'll see it. So the fold down happens here, so we have a straight side. Now I say the fold down is happening at the corner of this diamond. So we're gonna just match this other side here. Just gonna match it. So just gonna fold it down to match it. Okay. Okay, that's down here. Come on. All right, so now we have this fold. The next thing is we're just gonna fold down this next flap. We're just gonna fold it down. The front flap here, we're just gonna fold it down. See that front flap? We're just gonna fold the flap down. All right, front flap is folded down. Now we're gonna do a double fold next for the back flap. So first we're just gonna take the point and we're just gonna fold it. Okay, we fold it one time. Then lift it back up, and now we're gonna fold again. This time just to kind of match it up proportionately with the lower flap. You see that right there? Wow, okay. So the next step, of course, we're gonna turn this around. So I'm showing it to you this way. I'm gonna be actually using it this way. We're gonna fold the flaps in now. All right, so we're just gonna fold the flaps in. Okay, we're gonna fold the flaps in so that the edges touch. And you'll see what I mean here. I'm gonna leave the portion up top. Just gonna fold this flap in so the edges touch here. Okay, nice. Okay, perfect. So as you can see now, so I just folded, I'm showing you the part I folded. So I folded that portion in. So now I can see the inside edges here touching, all right? So that's, remember, going from here, folding it in, and then just getting a nice pressure on these edges. Remember, when you do origami, the pressure on the fold really can help, especially depending on the type of material you're folding. The next step is we're just gonna fold the edges. So we're just gonna kind of fold in these edges here. And so after you fold in these edges, then you really are all done. You have a fly, a nice origami fly. And there's some alternatives you can do. You can see, look at this fly. Oh, it's an origami fly. It's so cute. So you can do a lot with an origami fly design. If you want, you can actually take that portion right here and you can just pressure it in like I'm doing right now. It's like, you can get it right here. You can kind of give your eyes more of like a little 3D pop right here, you can see. So it's a fun origami to do. And hey, if you're gonna have a fly on the wall, why not a decorative fly? Okay, next we're going to hop right into 3 films. Yes, recently I watched 3 films in theater. And I have to say, for each film, I like all of them in theater, and we're gonna get into why. So the first film I want to talk about is, well, the new Spider-Man film. Ooh, we're going all across the Spider-Verse. And we're looking at an expanding world. The story is gonna continue to have one film after the next, and I really like what the multiverse, the Spider-Verse particularly, is bringing to the table. Animations are on point. The voice acting partners are on point. All these points fulfill the film very well. I feel like when a story has somewhat of a scatter plot, though is indicating through the storytelling that more stories are to come, scatter plots can work. I'm not even holding a grudge to Kingdom Hearts. I have Kingdom Hearts 4, I believe it's 4 or 3, 4 in the plastic still. That's how you know I'm not even touching video games right now. I'm likely not for a while. Though, Kingdom Hearts has a scatter plot, and there are a lot of stories branching from Kingdom Hearts. Back to Spider-Man. So, with the developing story of, young Miles as Spider-Man, being so responsible as a student, as a hero, then encountering, of course, a bigger plot. We meet so many different spider persons across the Spider-Verse, and of course, in wonderful style, we're getting not heavy political banter, though we being the audience are having experiences of reality in the film to show that no one is going across all these Spider-Verses without experiencing the reality of the world one is living in. So these type of situations set the film in solid point to be more so relatable than just focus on the heroism being present. We're looking into the storylines in multiple ways. Of course, the artwork is working effectively to engage the audience. I think a lot of it moves really fast, though that may be me. I think the action is on point, entertaining, dialogue is really on point, really cool. I think that's a part of the elements the individuals are going for is cool. I feel as though we're dealing with lessons of storytelling as well as breaking tropes of storytelling, and that all falls into this wonderful mix of spider webs and fireworks style. I like the film. I do want to see the next film that I think the end of the film is hinting at. And I'm a subscriber, if you will, of the Spider-Verse. I am not familiar with the video games, though. Looking at the Spider-Verse, I'm like, wow, I can imagine this being a very fun video game to play. Multiplayer, online. I can imagine the game being very fun, especially if one can design one's own Spider-Person. If one is already able to do that and one already knows, cool, let me know. The next film I watched is The Boogeyman. I'm not a fan of horror films. I don't say that in the sense that I refuse to watch them. I like a good story, good to amazing story, good to amazing film. I'm on board. I'm just not a person that's going to choose a horror film over any other film in any other genre. So I watched The Boogeyman. I get it. Starting the film off with the Rothko painting, at least a painting with the Rothko design, is very telling if one knows. Sadly, because I've yet to come across anyone to invoke such emotion in a painting like Rothko's painting, which seems so simple, though very complex. We start off in this state of acknowledgement. Oh my goodness. In the office of this psychotherapist, really are dealing with traumas. We're dealing with a lot of mental situations. We're literally, we being the audience, sitting in the midst of a processing traumatic experience and learning of how trauma translates, how it moves through the boogeyman, the haunting. Good on the film to acknowledge early on that there are ways to proceed in life beyond trauma, even while dealing with trauma. Though I find if one doesn't know, if one is not completely aware, if one does not watch this sort of film with someone that is aware of what the film is showing, the film does need trigger warnings. I'm from times when trigger warnings are not really a thing. Though, like, understanding film, dissecting film is a thing. And I feel as though to say a film needs a trigger warning now is largely due to the fact that so many people have access to more information now, and the way that information is available now makes the trigger warning somewhat more relevant, somewhat more useful, because not everyone's going to walk out of a horror laughing. And mind you, situation, I actually see the film, the first half of it, beforehand because of buying the ticket for a latter date and going in thinking it's for today. So I watched the first half of the film.
then I watch the second half of the film, then I watch the first half of the film the following time I go to the theater. And I'm like, I really think the film is full of like pop-up moments that are like, whoa, and it's like, ugh. I understand the importance of making a horror type film kind of scary. It's really like a psycho thriller horror. Though, I think all of this is set, and one audience, the first time I see it, the majority is like very serious, very like solemn, like, oh. Then when I go see the first half of the film the next time, some people are all laughing. There's a comedic element of watching horror. People are like, oh no, they're not into it. And you have more of that audience. And the mixed bunch is like, there are people that are like, please be quiet down front. I don't want to hear you talking. I just want to watch a good film. The theater, I remember being somewhat full, actually, for a decent amount, for the time especially. And then another person's like really into it, like in there for the film, a little jumpy, I know. I'm here to watch the film. It's just important to acknowledge these aspects. So with these varying understandings, we're looking at the audience reception. Everyone's gonna take a film differently. So with that, it's like everyone that has a screen now that's observing it or going home now and dealing with different information now, I think everyone's gonna be processing differently, and a trigger warning can be very helpful because of the newer, more modern forms of dissemination. All right. Otherwise, the boogeyman, the acting partners fulfill the film well, and the film is captivating, and it leaves a lot for one to really look into. We're looking at bullying. We're looking at loss. How does one deal with loss? I'm talking like teenagers here. Looking at what is a true friendship. What is friendship? Why are people forming bonds? How's communication working? Is communication effective? I mean, we are really looking at a very different type of film than a hero film. All right? We're not looking at a film that's talking about some cool stuff, or though like family time and being in two different forms. Because not everyone, touching base real quick on Spiderman, not everyone, the Spider-Verse, not everyone knows what the child is going through, right? Their teenage child is going through. As parents, though the parents want their children to be around, and of course there's a whole family dynamic to consider, and the Spider-Verse, the next step is going to be very interesting. So then we're still looking at this theme going through the boogeyman. What's going on with the team, though? We're looking at real humans. These humans, the superpowers these humans have are trying to cope, trying to figure out ways to cope, trying to get through the day, trying to make friends, trying to do homework, right? So we are looking at these elements and considering, well, is this environment the best environment? Where does the person even live? Why is the person living in this situation? Why is the person still staying in this house after this particular area? Can the person afford to move? Okay, if the person is living from home, working from home, there are a lot of things that the film is showing we don't have answers to. The questions don't completely arise, though are very important to acknowledging the aspects of the film that we need to be paying attention to. Because I know literally once a big situation happens in the film, I'm like, in the boogeyman, I'm like, whoa, why is anyone even living in this house anymore? Why? That happening is enough for me to say, everyone's got to go. We're out of here. So a lot to ponder. But we don't get all the answers. Some of these things don't arise. So next we're going to move on to Transformers. The new one is so cool. I like Transformers. I really do. I have questions, of course, because initially we jump into a family dynamic that makes me feel like it's not the family dynamic that throws me off. It's more so like a situation where it causes me to question like what the relationship is because of how a response is due to the sickle cell in the hand. I'm like, isn't he already aware that this might be a problem? Why is this acknowledgement coming many years later? I don't know when the diagnosis happens, though I figure the older brother knows the younger brother's playing video games a lot. And of course, I just think the acting partners fulfill the film well. The film is cool. You have animals, these animals transforming like an ancient sentiment, though it's really more modern than the more ancient sentiment, which is cool. I still don't understand how no one is able to differentiate between a transformer car and a regular car. Like, that logo is very apparent. Though, I think the film is really acknowledging the human technological symbiosis and how technology can develop, possibly, though how any individual can regard one's world, one's life, and move forward in choosing, I don't even know if I want to say selfishly or selflessly, just mindfully considering the parameters. I think the film has some comedic points. We're looking into connecting worlds, not to spoil anything. The film is really operating on a cool level though. So, good acting, cool transformations, really cool battle scenes. And that's fun. That's really it. Action films can be tough sometimes. I mean, we're looking at a world in which we do acknowledge human connection, the importance of humanity, and the relevance of community to individuals. After that, we're just looking at a lot of fun to watch action scenes and cool happenings. All right, we're gonna get to now the point of the show that I really enjoy, because you know I really enjoy, if you don't already, books. Physical books at that. Whew! A Man's Guide to Healthy Aging. A wonderful book. I'm glad about reading the entire text because I learned so much about aging as an individual. I appreciate watching older individuals live healthy lives, live good lives, and for me to be growing well is very important to me. I understand that generational development happens with every action one makes. So we're going into, I'll throw back lesson real quick. So It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wallen and The Mind Body Code, Dr. Mary Martinez. Remember, every action affects one's generational development, one's generational line beyond DNA. This is beautiful. So, though we can acknowledge it, the impact genetically, the happenings happen beyond DNA as well, beyond biology. So, A Man's Guide to Healthy Aging is really cool, full of information. A lot of the text does consider, well, making an appointment. So I'm going to break down 4 aspects of the text, kind of like 5, that I just think that are important takeaways. I take away a lot more from the text, though I want to share them with you, viewer. 1, and though the text is A Man's Guide to Healthy Aging, these aspects are important for both men and women. And for you individuals that identify otherwise, if you have a body, these aspects are very important. So Eating good. Long-term beneficial effect. Eat good, your health's gonna be better. Work out, train, exercise. It's gonna help your life be better. The sooner you start, the better, especially when you're starting off well. An attachment to this is, and I consider it an additional point, is if you are an athlete or have a history of being an athlete, or you have some want in you that is energizing, that's fulfilling, continue doing it. Find a way to be a part of that community, and just find good community, which is really the fourth one. Find good community for things that you enjoy, or in general, whether that be just a good community to go for like reading a book or going to church, or a hobby you may have, or a part of your lifestyle you want to find other people partaking in. Good community. That's the fourth one. And the fifth one is making sure to go see a professional, a doctor of some sort. Get your checkups if you can. Every year, get a checkup, whether that be, well, just get the blood work done for the year, but whether that be for any situation you have, or for any situation that you want to prevent, or for any situation you think you might have, just get a checkup. Get the yearly checkup. And those are the 5 things really that the text brings up that I think are very important to bring out in general. The text does offer a lot more points because the text gets really specific, and the text additionally covers, for example, like the reproductive system for a male. The text covers like certain types of medicines, and we're looking at certain types of diseases. So all of these things can be general, though the core 5 I share are actually preventative measures so that one can live a longer, healthier, happier life. Thank you very much for staying with me and watching. I don't know, we can talk about it. Onward and upward. Kevin. Different.